Macca's Guides.
Hey guys, Macca here. Welcome to completed episode number 82. In the last episode, we took a look at Absolute Drift Zen Edition, but in this video, we'll be taking a look at Cuphead. For those of you who may be new to the series, this is a series where we take a look at a game that I recently completed, and I tell you guys about that game, how long it might take you, how hard it is, and I give a little bit of a mini review as well at the end. Feel free to check the link in the YouTube description to take a look at some of the previous episodes. Now, Cuphead came out on Xbox One and Steam September 29th. I got a little bit of a head start, but did finish it on October 5th while playing on stream. That's a time span of about a week, and personally for me, that was about 30 to 35 hours of actual gameplay. If you go on Xbox Live, it'll say something like 55 hours, but a lot of that time was spent idling. I think for most people, the time to complete this game will range around the 25 to 40 hour mark, depending on how good they are, but it's definitely possible in less time, and it might be so hard for some people that they might never complete it at all. In total, the game has 28 achievements that you will need to grab in order to get your completion. However, some of those will be 0-pointers, but the achievement community is more or less unanimous that 0-pointers do count towards completions, so you'll need to grab all of those. Now, what you're watching on screen is gameplay from my stream when I was streaming some of the bosses on Expert. And the last achievement I got was Beat the Devil at his own game, which is actually for completing all of the bosses on Expert worth 100 gamer score. And I would say that's probably one of the 2 or 3 hardest things you'll need to do in this game in order to get the completion, bringing us to our achievement difficulty, which I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. Now, in general, Cuphead is a pretty tough game. Just getting through the game on normal, beating all the bosses, and kind of getting your foot in the door is quite difficult, but not too bad, especially if you're good at platformers and bullet hell type games that require fast reactions. However, there are a couple of things that are pretty difficult standing in the way of that completion for you, including some extra tasks like completing a boss using only mini-plane bullets, defeating the king dice without taking a single hit, getting an A rank on all of those bosses, completing all the run and gun levels without shooting a single bullet, and then last but not least, being able to actually beat the game on Expert. Now, personally, I didn't find Cuphead to be that crazy difficult. It does take a certain type of skill, but honestly, once you memorize all the bosses and have a good strategy going in, things typically don't take that long. For example, I would say my entire Expert playthrough of the game clocked in under 8 hours. For a total of 20 bosses, I don't think that's that unreasonable. I would say the most important thing for Cuphead is to not rage quit and also know when to draw the line and call it quits for the day. Sometimes just sitting on the same boss over and over is not very productive, and you'll find that taking a small break or visiting it again the next day will actually make it way easier. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty proud of my completion of Cuphead, but there are some people saying that it's the hardest completion of all time, which is simply untrue. I do think it will make my top 10 hardest games of 2017 list, but I don't think it'll be in the running for the top 3 or even number 1. Either way, it's a pretty cool completion to have. For me personally, I would say that most of the games I complete are usually pretty easy, and a lot of the bigger games require too much of a time commitment, so I end up having to move on for the sake of videos. So I'm pretty happy to have this one on my gamer card, and I'd love to know if any of you also have this completed. Let me know in the comments. But now we're going to finish off the video with a little bit of a mini review. Now, on the completed series, we use a fun factor score. This is not a review score, it's a fun factor score. And for Cuphead, I'm giving it the perfect score, the very rare 10 out of 10. That doesn't mean it's a perfect game, but it does mean I had a ton of fun playing it, and I recommend it, and I think everyone should try it, even if it is outside of their preferred genre. Me personally, I'm also not a huge fan of like these platforming type games, but this game did the trick. So obviously you have the appeal of the graphics, you have the appeal of the audio, but that would be all for none if the game wasn't a great game to play. And that's what actually impressed me about Cuphead the most, was the gameplay. I found it to be super addicting, very rewarding, and I always found myself coming back to it. And oddly enough, I never thought I would get the Cuphead completion. Not because I thought the game would be too hard for me, because I thought the game wouldn't be able to hold my attention throughout my entire playthrough. And with my gaming habits now, I tend to kind of move on to new things. But I found myself pleasantly surprised, and I found myself going through Expert because of how much I love the game and not just for the pursuit of the gamer score. And I think that's what makes a great game to start with, so that's why Cuphead has my ultimate recommendation, the 10 out of 10 for fun factor. There's also a very good chance we'll see Cuphead in my top 10 games of 2017 video. Now obviously there are still a lot of games to come out, so things can change, but I think it's safe to assume that it will appear somewhere within the top 10. Again, this game's not going to be for everyone, but I do think it has pretty decent mass appeal, and I think it's worth it for the love and attention that the creators put into it. It's a very unique game, and I think that should be celebrated, and I really hope to see something more from this studio in the future, and hope that Xbox and Microsoft get the most out of this franchise or this game. It's also nice to get a game that doesn't shy away from being difficult and having a reputation for it. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a like on the video, share it with a friend. Special thanks to all the amazing people on Patreon for supporting the show. Subscribe for future content, and hopefully I see you guys next time. Peace.